Hi friends! Now, I know you've been there before. You see a trailer for a movie that you're definitely probably gonna love, but then the trailer just gives everything away. The plot, the details, maybe even the twist, or at least a pretty big element of the story or the characters. So you wonder, what's the point of watching the movie when you've just seen everything you need to see in less than 5 minutes? I'll admit, that was me with this movie. Now, I love a vampire flick as much as the next person, but I felt like the fact that she was a vampire should have been a fun surprise. Then I saw another trailer and it was full of gore, and that's when I started to get excited about the movie again. Also, I was hopeful because maybe if they're giving away the fact that she's a vampire, then there's gotta be something else in the movie that's gonna surprise us, something that we're gonna love and sink our teeth into. I am so glad I was right. Hey there movie lovers, welcome back. It's your movie buddy here, ready to talk about the latest movie I watched. Whether you're a longtime subscriber, follower, or you're a new face, I'm thrilled to have you here. If you're looking for all the story details and what exactly happens in this movie, you're not gonna find it here. What you can expect are my spoiler-free thoughts and opinions about the latest film I watched in theaters or maybe one I streamed at home. You can catch weekly releases dropping every Friday. Have a movie in mind that you want me to talk about? Hop into my DMs on Instagram, drop a comment on YouTube, or let me know on the podcast. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, follow on Spotify, and follow along on Instagram so you don't miss out on what I'm up to and what's coming up next. As always, any TikToks or articles I've mentioned in today's episode will all be in this episode's description. With that all out of the way, grab your popcorn, hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button, and let's get into today's episode on Abigail. A group of would-be criminals kidnaps the 12-year-old daughter of a powerful underworld figure. Holding her for ransom in an isolated mansion, their plan starts to unravel when they discover their young captive is actually a bloodthirsty vampire. I love a movie that delves into resilience in the face of adversity and standing up for what you believe in, even if it means you have to keep getting back up after being knocked down over and over again, and Abigail is a fun, blood-soaked example of this. I especially love when the focus is on strong women. Without giving too much away, I love that the character foundations in the film are solid, really showcasing that resilience in subtle ways at first that gradually build into something much larger. Speaking of characters, let's briefly talk about development. As the movie progresses, the direction some characters are going to go in becomes pretty obvious, but that doesn't make it any less interesting to watch play out. The actors and actresses truly bring their roles to life, each delivering subtle nuances that make who they are at the beginning of their journey clear, making it fascinating to see that development. Now, let's talk about one of the movie's standout features. The setting. The old mansion where our group gets trapped really sells that moody, dark vibe. It's intricate and almost maze-like, creating a frantic, lost feeling as the characters become more and more frantic and the threat comes closer. There's a richness to the mansion, but it's clear that it's very old, offering plenty of visual interest and a lot of dark rooms and long hallways that add to that suspense. You know we have to talk about the action and, of course, the blood. The action scenes in Abigail are surprisingly well choreographed. From intense up-close hand-to-hand combat to more lighthearted, funny action moments, the film offers a great mix of serious, fun, and silly. And then there's the blood. Like I mentioned at the top of the video, I had seen a trailer that showed some of that gore, and I was surprised. Well, the movie doubled down and exceeded my expectations. There is so much blood in this movie, I definitely don't want to undersell it. It is a lot. Not only is the movie completely blood-soaked, but it's showcasing some very impressive practical effects. There is so much that could have easily been done with CGI, but the fact that they went the extra mile to create so much is always really impressive, and it adds to that authenticity. The cast, overall, is fantastic, and everyone really brought depth and nuance to their unique characters. Although the characters feel familiar, it's the way they're written and what the actors' performances bring that make each of them stand out. The late Angus Cloud as Dean really brought an air of humor to every single scene he was in. William Catlett as Rickles really stood out for his role in the group and in his interactions with Joey. Kevin Durand as Peter and Katherine Newton as Sammy both brought even more of that humor that really came at unexpected moments. Dan Stevens as Frank is fantastic. He plays the role so well, and he's really good at keeping you guessing. Now to the main ladies. We're talking about Melissa Barrera and Alicia Weir as Joey and Abigail, respectively. I love Joey's character development and how Melissa brings every flaw and strength of Joey just beneath the surface in a way that's not just compelling, but also readable from start to finish. Miss Alicia is incredible. If you've been here with me talking about movies for a while, then you know I'm not too critical about child actors. I just don't expect too much. That said, I was blown away. I also just watched an interview because I was trying to figure out how to pronounce her name, and instead I found out she has an Irish accent. Well, she's Irish. I'm sure if you pay close attention, you'll probably be able to catch her accent slip, but honestly, I couldn't tell even when I watched the movie a second time. So I'm pretty impressed. American accent aside, she absolutely nails every single aspect of this character, from the scared 12-year-old little girl to the bloodthirsty centuries-old vampire. I especially love a scene a little more than halfway through the film where Abigail mirrors a scene that Joey had earlier in the movie. Alicia had a lot of opportunity for range during this scene, and she really delivered on the subtleties of the character here and throughout the movie. She has plenty of screen time, and she's definitely thrilling to watch as she unleashes carnage, juxtaposed by plenty of pirouettes and jetés. Moving on to the writing, Stephen Shields and Guy Busick's writing is fantastic. They crafted a unique story and characters that, again, feel familiar. The dialogue is fantastic, making the characters feel real and relatable. I love the slower, character-driven moments when they spend a lot of time talking, and the more fast-paced moments when the action starts to pick up, and the humor is practically perfectly balanced with the horror of the story. Now, let's wrap up with my final thoughts. After going over some elements of the movie, the real question remains, is it worth your time? Let's get into it. Yeah, I think Abigail is absolutely worth your time. I really enjoyed it, and it was just as fun watching it a second time while working on this episode. It's one I can see myself rewatching over and over again if I'm bored or if I just don't know what to put on the TV. It's a great go-to movie, similar to 2019's Ready or Not, which Guy Busick also co-wrote. I'd say you definitely feel similar vibes from both movies. They share a balance of horror and humor, and of course, a fair amount of blood. I think the wild concept of a ballerina vampire really works in an incredibly refreshing way, putting a fun twist on the vampire genre that is both original and captivating. It's that time in the episode when we talk about criticism. As always, there were plenty of comments saying this movie is bad, but I did find some more thoughtful critiques to talk about. One issue that I saw, which I initially agreed with, is that the trailer reveals that Abigail is a vampire. While this could have been a great twist, the narrative still offers plenty of surprises. Another point is that the characters make bad decisions. I think a lot of this plays into the humor and the silliness of the film. Some felt like there was too much blood and that the blood was meant to distract and solve all the problems that the movie has. I can see that one, to be honest, in the sense that there is a lot of blood, which is fun, but I can understand that that isn't for everyone. The final fight being too long is another critique. However, I didn't feel like it was drawn out at all. I felt like it showcased that resilience and character development. Lastly, one that I can agree with is the cliche where human characters are actually pretty impervious to all kinds of damage. Then again, I'm pretty good about suspending my disbelief if I think that other elements of the film are really strong. Going back to me saying that I think this movie is worth your time, I really do think it's worth your time if you're not super critical. I mean, the concept is ballerina vampire. If you can't get past that wacky concept, then don't bother. However, if you're looking for a movie that delivers on thrills and humor, then Abigail will keep you entertained. Time to talk about the scaries. If you're curious if this movie is scary or not, no, Abigail is not scary, but there are plenty of jump scares punctuated by loud music, especially in the beginning. The movie isn't packed with horror, but again, it's blood-soaked with plenty of gore. Have you had the chance to watch Abigail yet? If you haven't watched it yet, what's holding you back? Not your cup of tea, not your genre. I'm curious to hear your thoughts after today's episode. And if you've already watched it, I want to know your take. What did you think about it? Share your thoughts, opinions, and reactions. I am all ears. Abigail is beyond engaging and hilarious. Don't let the trailer revealing parts of the narrative put you off. The movie still holds plenty of surprises. On top of that, the film features some fantastic kills, and the humor is strong throughout. Sure, there are silly moments, but this really is the kind of movie you can put on and simply enjoy without overthinking. It's perfect for relaxing and having fun. In conclusion, Abigail is a refreshing and entertaining addition to the vampire genre. With a unique concept, impressive practical effects, and a well-balanced mix of horror and humor, it stands out as a must-watch. I read a review on Rotten Tomatoes that perfectly sums up the movie. Abigail is a little silly, a little scary, and a lot of fun. Alright, vampire fans, that wraps up another episode. If you're enjoying this episode on the podcast, a huge thank you for tuning in. For our YouTube viewers, you'll find a link to the podcast in the description below, and don't forget to give the video a thumbs up if you like it. As always, thanks a million for joining me today, friends. Your support means the world to me, and remember, the movie talk doesn't stop, so tune in every Friday for fresh episodes. Don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube, follow on Spotify for on-the-go listening, and join the fun over on Instagram for behind-the-scenes sneak peeks. The next movie I have tickets for is The Strangers Chapter 1, and after that I have tickets for Furiosa. Moving on to the updates. If you caught the last episode, then you know I'm working on Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. The more movies I watch in the franchise, the less I regret watching the entire franchise. I know I don't need to do all of that, but I've never actually seen the original movies. I'm on the third one, and honestly, I'm looking forward to watching the rest. If Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is still in theaters when I'm done, I'll definitely get tickets to see it. Now, as you may know, I'm a little behind. I have a lot going on, but we're pushing forward. Monkey Man is next up, then Godzilla x Kong, and then The Fall Guy. That's the loose plan. I'm trying to get all caught up as we get into June. By then, we should be able to start getting back into the podcast exclusive episodes. I have a lot of movies I want to talk about. Stop Motion, Baghead, Rebel Moon Part 2, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, Disney's Wish, Infested, you guys. I'm really excited about the exclusives, so once I catch up and get some room to breathe, get some of that work-life balance, and life, honestly, stops putting me through it, then I'll start watching those movies. A huge thank you to everyone who has stuck around with me to the end of the video. Last week, I shared my thoughts on Civil War. If you missed out on that episode, please be sure to catch that one on the podcast. And if you're on YouTube, you can click the top right corner of today's video. Your feedback is always appreciated, so don't hesitate to let me know your thoughts. As always, I'm looking forward to you all joining me on YouTube, Instagram, and of course, the podcast. Don't forget to tune into the podcast online or on Spotify for exclusive episodes. Your presence and support truly makes a difference, and it means so much to me. I value your feedback, it enriches our little community, and it makes it a fun place to be. Share your thoughts in the YouTube comment section or hop over to Spotify for our Q&A and polls. Whether you're following on YouTube, Spotify, or Instagram at a.rocket.review, I'm eager to hear your thoughts. Until next time, spread positivity, be safe, take care of yourself, and happy movie watching. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.